I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This is actually our second episode of Out of the Box. The first episode that we did a few weeks ago with Kat and Sharon was on anxiety and depression, and we got a pretty good response from that. So we're going to try another one today. Today is going to be on detoxification and elimination. And a lot of people associate detoxification and elimination with, I think, more illicit drugs, cocaine, heroin, things like that, or alcoholism. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about detoxifying the body of thousands and thousands of toxins that get into our body almost every single day. If you go to the most pristine areas in the world, and I mean areas where probably man has never been, people have not been there, it's just animals, you cannot find an area on this earth that is not toxic. PCBs, DDTs, phthalates are found in every aspect of our world. We have done this, man has done this through man-made chemicals, and we have basically polluted our planet to the point where it is creating many diseases in our country. As a matter of fact, at any given time, there are 80,000 chemicals in our atmosphere. At any given time, a newborn child in the umbilical blood will have 286 toxins right when it's born. And the problem with that is that the EPA has limits of what the daily intake is on these toxins, whether it's mercury or cadmium or lead or whatever. And they think, okay, if you get below this amount of daily intake, you're okay. But what they don't realize are two things. Number one, you can take your below your FDA intake of those toxins, but there's 500 toxins in our body. So what happens if you have one toxin, say mercury, that's very prevalent in our society, in our fat tissues, and then you add it to another toxin, like say styrene, which comes out of styrofoam cups and things like that. A lot of people think that that's basically just a 1+1 scenario. So you have one cancer-causing agent, you have another cancer-causing agent, 1+1 is 2, and you have a double of a chance of acquiring some type of disease. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. The way it works with toxins is that one toxin and you add another toxin, there's a synergistic effect, which means 1 and 1 would become 5. So you have 5 times the chances of developing these illnesses, and we'll go over some of these illnesses in the future here. And I do apologize for this. We were supposed to have a couple more people here today. One, a massage therapist, would go over draining the lymph nodes and the lactic acid and the toxins built up in the body, and how massage therapists would really work to drain the body of different toxins. And I think that would have been a great alternative approach to getting rid of toxins in the body. And we had a personal trainer that was supposed to come in today, Sharon Stewart, and I don't know where she is. Hopefully she'll show up, because one of the better ways of detoxification is by working out, by sweating. Your sweat glands are one of the biggest detoxification eliminators in your body. So by working out and by sweating, that's another really good way of detoxification. So to kind of recap a little bit, every one of us, me, you, Todd, anyone, is toxic. Like I said, we have over 500 toxins in our body at any given time, and 30 to 40% of those toxins are carcinogenic, meaning cancer-causing. And again, our EPA says, oh, by the way, 1+1 is 2, and again, that's not the case. You have 1+1+1, and now it's 100 times more likely to get some type of a disease. So when you have 500 toxins in your body at any given time, and 30% to 40% of those toxins are carcinogenic, again, cancer-causing, there's no way you can test for that. And we wonder why we have a sick society today. We are the sickest society that we've ever been. If we look at cancer rates, they're doubling. The number one cause, the number two cause of death between the ages of 15 year olds is cancer. Can you imagine that? Kids 8 to 15-year-old, the number two cause of death is actually cancer. And where is that cancer coming from? Has our genetic system changed that much in the last 15 years to cause cancer? Of course not. I mean, what has changed? Obviously, our environment has changed. Like I said, at any given time, we have 80,000 toxins in our environment. We produce 2.86 billion toxins in our atmosphere yearly. All right, that is a whole lot of toxins to be exposed to. And when I mean toxins, I mean chemicals that are man-made. All right. Now, there's what's called exogenous toxins, which are toxins that come in from the environment. Like I said, you can breathe them in. We have a lot of toxins in our air that we breathe in. We have a lot of toxins that come in through our skin. Lotions and potions and shampoos and cleaning agents and soaps and makeup and all these different things that we put on our skin that we know are carcinogenic. Again, what we breathe in and what we eat. There's a tremendous amount of toxins in our food. Whether they're PCBs, DDTs, and now everyone thinks that PCBs and DDTs, which were very popular in the 80s and 90s, have been eliminated from our country. Well, they haven't been. What we do is we sell these DDTs and these PCBs or these pesticides to other countries. So other countries use these carcinogenic pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. They grow their food, and where do you think they sell the food back to? They sell it back to us. So our food is still loaded with PCBs, still loaded with DDT. We still have a lot of different toxins in our food. Depending on how you feel about genetically modified foods, obviously more and more research is coming out with that to determine that when you change amino acid sequence within our foods, our body's going to react to it. One of the primary examples is gluten. I was not on the gluten bandwagon for a long time because I'm like, we've been eating gluten for years and years and years. Why all of a sudden in the past 10 years has gluten become such an issue? It's an issue now because we have genetically modified most wheat. I don't even know if you can get wheat that was made 10 years ago because Monsanto has done a great job chemically engineering these amino acids within these foods, and our body gets, they get into our body, and our body goes, well, we don't know what to do with them. These are man-made. We were designed by God to detoxify what we knew we were supposed to detoxify thousands of years ago. Now with 80,000 chemicals that are in our atmosphere, our body goes, we don't know how to detoxify this. We try, we do our best to detoxify this, but the body just can't keep up with it. So we are a very, very toxic society from not only the environmental part of it, which is what we're breathing in, what we're absorbing through our skin, what we're getting in our nutrition, again, with all the toxins that are coming in through our food. And let's face it, how many out there eat a good diet? Now, my practice has 30 years as a clinical nutritionist. I would say less than 10% of people eat a decent diet. Trying to get people to change their lifestyle is one of the most hardest things that we can do. I can tell people all the information that they want. I can give them the information. I can tell them what detox that they need, what supplements that they need, what lifestyle changes that they need to make. And getting someone to change their lifestyle is very, very challenging. Now, for the few people who do want to do that because they're in enough pain or they have a significant disease, it's a lot easier. So we need to look at three different things when we're detoxifying a body. And again, detoxifying, I'm not talking about drugs, even pharmaceutical, which is, again, that's a whole nother ballgame, detoxifying all the byproducts or metabolites from pharmaceuticals. And again, my company is Harris Integrative Healthcare. And I work very, very well with the traditional healthcare practitioners in this country. And if someone needs a drug, they need a drug. If someone needs a surgery, they need a surgery. And I'll be the first to tell them, you need to go to North Country Hospital to get these tests. You need to get this imaging. You need to get these blood tests. You need to get this surgery. Is it the only answer? Of course not. And that's why the integrative approach comes back, where we try to integrate both traditional medicine and alternative medicine. And the alternative medicine, along with the traditional medicine, in my opinion, is best for the patient, because they get a much better choices in what they're going to do in terms of helping their body. So when we look at environmental toxins, again, we look at the environment, we look at nutrition, the toxins that are in our food, and we look at internal toxins. Now, the toxins that come in from the outside of the body are called exotoxins, or exogenous, meaning ex, outside, and they come in from the outside. We produce endogenous toxins. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of reactions and chemicals that go on in our body every single day, and they produce toxins. One of the more simple examples of the body producing a toxin is, as a chiropractic part of my practice, a lot of people come in with very tight shoulders, the traps, the rhomboids, and you get a lot of lactic acid that's built up in there. And whether through stress, whether through job, whether through injury, the way you sleep, lactic acid is a normal byproduct of cellular physiology. Just like when you put gas into a car, and the gas goes into the engine and it gets combusted, to form other energy, there are byproducts, and one of the byproducts is lactic acid. And lactic acid is normal. We would not be alive without it. But with a normal functioning musculoskeletal system, with the proper nutrition, with the proper lifestyle choices, that lactic acid will get out of the body. And I'm sure everyone has gone for hikes and they've gone for, done little things where they probably overdid it and their body is sore. Your muscles are a little bit sore. That's lactic acid building up in the tissues. So in cellular physiology, instead of using gas, obviously, in our cellular physiology, as it goes into the cellular membranes of the mitochondria within the cells, we use glucose. Glucose is the number one form of energy in our body. So when these cells get disrupted, the cell membranes don't work properly. So the exchange of glucose into the body with insulin, you get a condition called insulin resistance. Again, can be a toxic byproduct of what's going on. But the glucose goes into the cell, goes into the mitochondria, gets converted into lactic acid. Lactic acid is exactly what it sounds like. It's lactic acid, and it stays in the tissue and not the toxin. And if you can't get that out through massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, myofascial, it's going to keep on building up, and you're going to get lactic acid building up in there. And again, that's a toxin, and that's going to cause a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort. It's going to pull the spine out of alignment. It's going to cause a lot of issues within the rhomboid muscle, which is the muscle that brings your shoulders back. It's going to cause problems in the trapezius muscle, which brings your shoulders up, which is going to minimize blood flow, and then that's going to be a domino effect. The tighter the area is, the more lactic acid, the more pain, the more toxins build up. So that's an example of what's called an endogenous toxin. So we make thousands of toxins within our own body to live. Now, the problem is, with that kind of example or explanation of what toxins are, and again, toxins are poisons that have gotten into our body that cause problems. And as I said before, there isn't a place on earth, there isn't a man, child, woman, animal, pristine area, ice, forest that has not been identified to have at least 10 toxins in the area. You cannot not find toxins anywhere in this world. So of course, when we live in more toxic areas, the insult of toxins in our body are going to be actually a whole lot more. So I hate to say this, but let's just say we're a waste dump of toxins. And again, as I said, we have anywhere between 500 toxins in our body. And let's just say 30% of those are carcinogens, meaning cancer-causing. What if you have 30 toxins that are all interacting with one another? Remember we did the 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2? The one toxin plus a one toxin could equal 5. So when you have 30, 40, 50 carcinogens in your body, there is no way of determining how those toxins are going to interact, not only in a normal human body, but we are all biochemical individual. I take penicillin, it saves my life. Someone else takes penicillin and it kills them. We are biochemically, biogenetically individual. So we all have our different levels of how we're going to deal with these toxins. Some people can drink coffee, not a problem. Other people drink 1 cup of coffee and they're just jittery. They have all these different issues going on. So we're all different on how we handle toxins in our body. So with the insult of toxins coming into our body, both environmentally, nutritionally, and through our skin, again, we are loaded with toxins. Now, with that being said, what do we do about it? Obviously, we need to get rid of these toxins from our body. And that's not easy. And a lot of people come up into my practice and they think they can go to a store. We won't mention any of the stores that sell these, but they think they can take a pill and they think they can detox. And a pill is not going to detox the body. You need to go through a very specific medical detoxification program that can last anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, which is what I do, and I manage it, and we meet every single week to make sure that everything is going in the right direction. Because when you detox, most toxins like to lie within fat tissue or adipose tissue. That's where the body kind of tries to hide them, okay? The body cannot have all these toxins floated around because it will cause damage. It already is causing damage. But so what the body tries to do is store them, tries to pack them away and say, okay, we know they're in here, but we're going to pack them away a little bit so we don't have to think about them right now. Most toxins are what's called fat soluble. And so they actually end up in our adipose tissue, in our fat tissue. And it kind of hides them a little bit, because again, if you had all these toxins running around in your body, you would have many illnesses, and unfortunately what we've reached is what's called total load. And total load is like when you fill a bucket up with water and you fill it halfway, and it's halfway filled, but you still have a halfway to go to add more water. And if you use that analogy to toxins, you know, half your body is filled with toxins, but you still have a ways to go to get that overspill. And most of us now have reached what's called total load. We're putting so many toxins in our body that our body can't handle them, so they're spilling out into our interstitial tissue, into our fascia, into our organ systems, into our intestinal tract, and that's causing a lot of inflammation. And if you look at most chronic diseases in this country, I would say the majority of chronic illnesses in this country have an inflammatory component. Now, I'm not saying again that's everything, although there are diseases that are 100% inflammatory modulated. And those are things we can take into account with the detoxification. Also, is lowering the inflammatory aspect of your body. Now, most people when they go to the doctors, they get what's called a SCRP, or highly sensitive C-reactive protein, and that's only one marker for inflammation in the body. If you really want to know what your level of inflammation is in your body, there are many other tests that you can do. You can do prostaglandins, leukotrienes, tumor necrosis factors. There's a whole lot of other areas that we can go into. I try not to do a lot of testing because I can get a lot of information subjectively from people by having them answer a 12-page questionnaire, honestly. And I go through that questionnaire with them. Depending on what their goals are, depending on what's wrong with them, we'll set up an individual program for them to do a detox, possibly elimination diet, and then work with supplements to kind of rebuild their nutrient status. Because what happens within the nutrient status, as all these toxins, exogenous toxins, meaning toxins coming from the outside, and endogenous toxins, toxins coming from the inside, they tend to build up, and we need to get rid of them. The problem is that we all eat very poor diets. We don't get the macronutrients in our diet. We don't get the micronutrients. We don't get the minerals. We don't get the vitamins. We don't get the supplements that should be helping. And I'm not advocating that people should be taking 30 pills a day. That's something that I would totally disagree with. But targeted nutrition, targeted diet, targeting the areas of the body that are having the problems. And again, we're going to go over some of the problems that actually toxins cause in the body. You want to kind of identify what the toxins are, what the problems are. Is it your GI system? Is it your liver that's not detoxifying properly? Is it your skin? Is it your adrenal gland? Is it your thyroid gland? Is it your pituitary gland? And these are all different things that we can find out and target and make a much better detox program for people by identifying these weaknesses and working with them. So when we talk about endogenous and exogenous toxins, the problem is with this is that we have such an overload. Remember, we talked about total load. We're overflowing the bucket. Our body cannot handle the excess toxins coming from a body. Again, whether they're coming from inside the body or whether they're coming from outside the body, we can't handle it. We're overloaded, and it's causing a lot of problems. And in order to try to detoxify, the liver does its best to detoxify these chemicals. But again, they're man-made. They weren't designed for the liver to detoxify these man-made chemicals. So they do their best to try to detoxify them. But what happens is that it utilizes something like 80% of all your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients. These enzymes or these supplements or these natural products within the body that work with detoxification are eliminated because it's trying to detox all of these different toxins, and it doesn't have a whole lot left for normal physiology. So if your heart is having a problem and it needs these vitamins and these minerals to have a healthy heart, whether it's CoQ10, which is a good supplement for heart tissue, it's already been used up by trying to detoxify all the toxins that are coming into our body. So nutrition plays a huge role in detoxification. You have to, number one, eat right. There are three areas that I look at: environment, lifestyle, and nutrition. And by nutrition, I just don't mean cleaning up your diet a little bit and eating a couple salads and taking a couple supplements. It has to be a very medically orientated detox program where people fill out a very extensive questionnaire at my practice. In Chicago, we used to do a lot of different testing. We used to do a lot of urine tests, stool testing, saliva testing, blood testing, and this would give us a lot of information based on these tests. I don't think you really need them, because I think based on the questionnaire, we can actually identify a lot of the different toxins that are causing a problem. Number one, insurance won't pay for them, so you're going to be looking at $500 to $1,000 worth of testing, which I don't think a lot of people are going to afford, and I don't think it's actually necessary to identify every single toxin in your body, but we kind of know what's there. We know we have high levels of mercury. We know we have high levels of lead. We know we have high levels of cadmium. We know we have high levels of styrene. We know we have high levels of PCBs and DDTs and fungicides and all these different things and thousands of other chemicals that we're exposed to. So working on a nutritional basis, that based on the questionnaire, we would identify the weaknesses within the system. So if your GI system, for example, is part of the problem that's causing a lot of the problems with detox, we would obviously have to look at the GI system in terms of how we detox. So let's talk about the GI system a little bit. Most gastrointestinal systems are, again, toxic. At any given time, there are 40 to 50 toxins in our intestinal tract, and they're folded. If we look at our intestinal tract and we unfold that, because everything is folded, if you take a piece of paper and keep folding it and folding it and folding it, that's kind of like what our intestinal tract is like. And so what happens is that it keeps getting folded and folded and folded, and then all these toxins get hit up way up into these creases and these folds in the intestinal tract. And what's it cause? It causes inflammation. And you can try to take a pill and you can try to detox all of that. It's not going to work. You're still going to have a lot of toxins built up in your intestinal tract. And what happens with that, it causes inflammation. And inflammation is one of the leading causes of illnesses in this country. I don't think there's any doctor, traditional doctor, alternative doctor, that would not agree that inflammation is, if it's not a leading cause of illness, it's a substantial reason why we are sick. And by inflammation, I don't mean a little redness on the skin. Like we talked about, CRP is a marker for inflammation. There are others, prostaglandins, leukotrienes that we can test to see just how inflamed someone is. And the problem is that inflammation in the gut causes a lot of problems. It causes the bad bacteria to overgrow, it causes the good bacteria to die off, and then we have a system we have a condition called dysbiosis. We have a lot of bad bacteria, not enough good bacteria, causing a lot of toxins in our body because the bad bacteria is now building or producing bad toxins. And they've overshadowed the good bacteria, which is actually wanting to produce the good stuff that we actually need, like vitamin K and different things like that. So what happens is that the intestinal tract then becomes leaky. All right, it damages the intestinal tract. You should have what's called tight junctions. Your cells should be tight together. And what should go through the intestinal tract from here to here, it starts to leak through. So what should be like this is now like this, and then you're getting all the leakage through your intestinal tract, through your the intestines. And then that causes a lot of problems. The inflammation, the toxicity gets in the body, again, causes problems because of the inflammation and the toxicity in the body. Now, what people don't realize is that 90% of your immune system is found in your intestinal tract. So you have a lot of problems with your intestinal problems. You have a lot of issues that are going on. It's definitely going to affect your immune system, and your immune system is going to have a whole lot of effect. One of the things that we look at all the time is autoimmune illnesses. A lot of immune illnesses can be traced back to a toxic environment, whether it's exogenous toxins or endogenous toxins. When you have a toxic environment, GI tract, one of the leading things that we're looking at is arthritic issues. We're looking at inflammation. We're looking at, like I said, different types of heart disease, Parkinson's, neurocognitive. We're looking at GI problems, Crohn's, colitis, irritable bowel syndromes. So toxins in the intestinal tract is one of the areas where we really want to start concentrating on and kind of getting all of that out of us. And again, taking a pill, drinking water with a little lemon in it is not going to do the job. You have to do a very, very medically sound, orientated detox along with elimination diet to really have an effect, and that's what I do in my practice. So starting at the GI tract is probably the best place to look at detoxifying the body. If you do not toxify the gastrointestinal tract, you are not going to detoxify the body. It's not going to happen because things are going to leak back and forth. What's in the body is going to go back into the intestinal tract, cause problems, and those problems are going to leak back into the bloodstream and cause problems. So you have to clean out your intestinal tract, number one. A lot of that could be diet. A lot of that could be nutrition. A lot of people don't take digestive enzymes, And as we grow older, our pancreas stops producing digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, lipase, amylase, protease, betaine, pepsin, and the food that doesn't get digested properly, again, causing inflammation, causing problems, getting through the blood-brain, into the blood, again, causing toxins and causing problems. So if we're going to look at one area that we need to start with, it has to be the intestinal tract. The second thing we want to look at is probably the liver. The liver is the #1 detox organ in the body. And again, with all the micronutrients and all the macronutrients and all the supplements and all the different things that we take into our body, they're used up by these toxins for the body to try to get rid of these toxins. Okay, it can't do it. The body is not made to get rid of these man-made toxins. It tries to get rid of these toxins, but it can't. And a lot of times, these toxins that come into our body then are converted into liver to worse problems. So like phenylalanine, which is a product within a Diet Coke. The body tries to detoxify that, but it can't. And so one of the byproducts of that is formalin. We all know what formaldehyde is, and that's, again, we know it's carcinogenic because the liver doesn't have the enzymes, it doesn't have the nutrients, it doesn't have the ability to detoxify these chemicals. So by not giving your liver what it needs to detoxify everything, the liver is at a standstill. The liver just cannot keep up with all the toxins that are coming into the body and going through the liver. And the liver says, I can't do this. Again, we talk about total load. The liver is overloaded. It can't handle what's going on. And so everything is overspilling from the liver. And then, we have liver problems. We have all these different problems that are going on. When the liver cannot handle these toxins running through our body, and again, they're running rampant through our body, most toxins are fat soluble. So what the body does is that the body tries to take these fat-soluble toxins and hide them because obviously it doesn't want them floating around causing damage to organ systems. And so it stores it in adipose tissue or fat tissue. Most of the toxins are fat-soluble. The liver tries to make them more polar, which meaning that it adds methyl groups, it has all these different combinations to try to sweat it out of our body. But if it's fat soluble, that's not going to happen. And so the body takes all these toxins and they hide it in this adipose tissue. Now, a lot of people are under misunderstanding that when you lose weight, you lose fat cells. Well, you don't. Your fat cells are like a balloon. They actually just shrink. So when you're detoxifying and you're getting these toxins out of the fat cells, you're just shrinking the fat cells and you're taking the toxins out of the fat cells. Some people have reactions to that because they're not used to having any toxins in the body because the body has been doing a good job at hiding them. But we have to get into the adipose tissue to detoxify the adipose tissue also. So between the GI tract, looking at pancreatic enzymes, looking at digestive enzymes, looking at probiotics, looking at the inflammation in the intestinal tract, looking at hydrochloric acid, there's a whole series of things that we can do in detoxifying the intestinal tract. Elimination diets, allergies, nightshade vegetables are all different things that we can look at. Liver, same thing. We have to give the liver the nutrients it needs to be able to detoxify. Glutathione is one of the best detoxifiers that the liver can make. But I guarantee 90% of us are not getting the nutrients to make glutathione to help detoxify the liver because it's all being used up in all these other areas of the body that we don't want it to be used up. So when the liver says, hey, I need some glutathione, there's nothing there, and so it can't detoxify the liver. So supplementing, targeted supplementation. I'm not talking about someone who comes in and says, I need to take 20 pills. I don't believe in that. I believe in targeted supplementation. And glycine is a good precursor to glutathione. Selenium, milk thistle, many other supplements can actually help detoxify the liver. So targeted supplementation to give the body what it needs to detoxify is crucial also for that to happen. Now, remember, we're not going to get all the toxins out of our environment. So it's coming into us. So we have to do the best we can inside our body to minimize the damage. And again, GI problems, gastrointestinal problems, adipose tissue, skin. Skin is one of the largest detoxifying agents or organs in the body. When I was hoping, Sharon would be here and she could talk about sweating in terms of working out and how great sweating is in terms of detoxifying the body and the adipose tissue and the triglycerids and all the things that are held in the adipose tissue. And I wanted her to talk about a little bit more about that. There are great things I actually may bring into my practice called infrared saunas, which I think would be a phenomenal detox protocol because infrared gets deeper into the tissue and it increases your core temperature. And so your heart rate has to go up, and so you kind of get a little bit of an exercise because your heart rate is at now 120, 130 beats per minute, and it's trying to cool itself, which takes energy, so it's good for weight loss, but it also detoxifies the adipose tissue. That's something I'm thinking about. I haven't kind of made that decision yet, but I'm kind of going in that direction. So I've kind of thrown a lot at you here. Let me see if there's anything that I'm missing. So we talked about inflammation. The other thing that we haven't talked about with our food is free radicals. And free radicals damage DNA. And when the free radicals get into the cellular membrane, it goes into mitochondria, damages the DNA. Then you have energy problems, you have detoxification problems. It clogs up the what's called the bipolar membrane around cells, and you don't get the exchange of nutrients in and out of the cell. So when we look at inflammation, we have to look at free radicals in that also, in terms of trying to deal with an anti-inflammatory program and an antioxidant program that will actually help the cells heal. It's going to take a while, but it took a long time to get this way, so it's not going to go away overnight. But we need to look at inflammation. We have to look at the free radical part of it also, which toxins tend to worsen as it goes on. So just some of the toxins that are in our body. Mercury, we still get mercury in our body. Phthalates, which come from plastic. 2 and 5, I think, are the best plastics that you want to use. So go to the bottom of the bottle, should have a little triangle. If it says 2 and 5, they're safe. If it doesn't say 2 or 5 on the plastic bottle, that means they're leaching phthalates or phthalates. And phthalates are known carcinogenic. So if you're drinking a lot out of plastic bottles, every single aluminum can in the U.S. is lined by plastic, and I guarantee they're not the good plastics. When you wrap up a food at night and you put the saran wrap on that, and then you throw it in the microwave, you're getting a tremendous release of phthalates, which we know are carcinogenic. So we get a lot of different toxins from the foods that we eat, the phthalates, the mercury, the cadmium, styrene, chloroforms, pesticides, lead, fungicides are all coming in through our foods and our environment. And again, there are, like I said, 80,000 chemicals that we're exposed to. At any given time, we're exposed to 500 different chemicals in our body. And again, if you don't think you should be scared that a baby born, the umbilical cord blood has 286 toxins, and 30% of those are carcinogenic, that should scare you. All right? If it doesn't, something is wrong. When a newborn baby already has 286 toxins in its body. So that to me is extremely concerning. And then we wonder why we have all these diseases, childhood diseases, skin problems, autism, ADHD, all the different neurocognitive issues, the hyperactivity, the allergies in kids. So there's a lot that we can do to help that. Again, one of the things I look at in my practice, we first look at environment, look at what's in the environment, what's out there, what can we eliminate. Of course, we cannot eliminate everything. It's not going to happen. We are just sitting here, I'm probably breathing over 100 toxins. But how do we minimize the effect of those toxins in our body? And that's what we can do through nutrition, targeted supplementation, and lifestyle. We can minimize the effect of these toxins on our body. So there are people who say that you have to identify the toxins in your body. I technically don't agree with that. I used to do it in Chicago, and it's very expensive. Some of these tests go to $200 to $300 a test. You do 4 tests, you're looking at $1,000. It's not going to tell me anymore. I already know there's mercury in there. I already know there's cadmium in there. I already know there's styrene in there. I already know there's PCBs and DDTs and everything else. Because, again, there's no one, no animal, no place on the earth that isn't toxic. So we already know pretty much what's in the body. So to spend thousands of dollars on tests to determine, do you have this, I think it's a good assumption to think that we do have this. So I don't do a lot of medical testing. I do have a lot of questionnaires that people fill out, and that gives me ideas of what system to look at. We're looking at the GI system, the endocrine system. We're looking at the immune system. We're looking at the musculoskeletal system. So there's different ways that we can kind of attribute different protocols for what comes up in the questionnaire. So one of the things that we really need to do, like I said, is number one, fix the gut, and we fix the gut, and a lot of that will go away. In terms of diseases, I'm going to just go through this. This wasn't what I was going to go through today, but let's just look at a couple different symptoms that are caused by toxins. All right, they're in no special order. We look at fatigue, muscle aches, joint pain, postnasal drip, excessive sinus problems, headaches, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, foul-smelling stools, heartburn, sleep problems, difficulty concentrating, food cravings, water retention, trouble losing weight, rashes, and skin problems. All right, be honest with me. Is there anyone out there that doesn't have at least a half a dozen of these issues? Probably not. If you have about a half a dozen of these issues, you're probably toxic, and that's something we need to work on to get these toxins out of your body. Now, these are just symptoms. Let's go into more of the diseases that these toxins can cause. They can cause eczema, psoriasis, acne, premenstrual syndromes, menstrual disorders, infertility, depression, anxiety disorder, heart disease, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, cancer, autoimmune illnesses. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of doctors out there and say, well, the science isn't out there yet. Yes, it is. These are coming out of major universities now that toxins may not be the only reason that we're so sick, but I guarantee it's a very significant contributing factor to these illnesses. So these are just a few of the symptoms and a few of the diseases that toxins can cause. And I have people coming to my office all the time, and they haven't gone to the bathroom for 7 days, and they think that's normal. It's like, no, it's not normal. You have to have, a bowel movement once or twice a day, and that's the other thing we look at in terms of, identifying the toxins, is that you have to eliminate what's in your bowel, and that what stays in your bowel becomes more and more toxic, and it hides up into these folds. I don't know if I said this, but if you undo your intestinal tract, and it's folded and it's folded and it's folded, and if you undo that fold many times, the surface area is going to be about the size of a tennis court. So you can imagine when you fold all that up, how many different toxins and how many different things get hit up into these intestinal tract, into these crevices that cause problems. All right, so we need to look at elimination. We need to get that out of the body. So we need to look at many different things, again, whether it's hydrochloric acid, probiotics, digestive enzymes, detoxing the GI tract. I'm going to say something that you may find a little bit interesting, but the research shows it over and over and over again, is a coffee enema. that will completely detox your intestinal tract. Do it 3 times in the first week. Not only is it detoxing the intestinal tract, that caffeine stimulates glutathione in the liver, which is the main detoxification enzyme in the liver that takes care of most enzymes that detox. So by taking some of these, like I said, some glycine and some other silymarin and some selenium and some of these other detox that help detox the liver, along with the intestinal tract, you can kind of kill 2 birds with one stone. So there's a lot of different things that we can do. I'm not putting down people who say take a pill. That's their belief. That's what they want to believe, and people who want to do that, I think, they have a choice. What I'm trying to do today is give you a lot more information about how serious our toxic society is, how bad it is throughout this country, how it's killing every man, child, woman, plant, animal in our environment. We have no one to blame but ourselves. Like I said, 80,000 chemicals are in our atmosphere a day. 500 are in us every single day. So we have a long way to go, and there's going to be people who disagree with me, which is fine, and they can come on the program and we can have a great discussion on what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So just to kind of finish up here, one of the things that we want to kind of do in a very quick program, and again, this is something that I would have to go over with you because I meet with people every week for accountability. But the first thing is you want to drink lots of water. You want to get everything out of you. You want to flush everything out of you. So drinking, and I don't mean out of the plastic bottle that doesn't have a good number on it. Good clean water. You need to eliminate your intestines. You need to get that stool. You need to get those toxins out of there. You need to go to the bathroom once or twice a day. And there are things we can help you with that. I have people come in and think it's normal to go to the bathroom every 7 days, and I just go, yeah, no, that's not normal at all. So you have to eliminate, the what's in your intestines and pull all those toxins from these little folds up in the intestinal tract to really clean the intestinal tract. So you have to get on a good, regular schedule of elimination. Eat clean. Again, try not to do GMO foods and sugars and flours and all these other things. Try to eat organic if you can afford it. I know it's tough, but the more organic that you can eat without all the pesticides and the antibiotics and all the different things that are going on are going to help you. So eat clean is a good way of working on a good detox program. Detox foods, there are many foods that are great for detox. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, anything that has a high sulfur content are really good for detoxing. So any type of vegetable you can use with that. Dim is in there. Is a really good detoxification food that you can eat. Trying to minimize your drug intake. I'm integrative, so I definitely know we need drugs and we need surgeries and we need all these different things. But don't overdo it. Kind of minimize it. And if you're on an antibiotic, definitely you should, after the antibiotic, be on a probiotic to try to re-enhance or resupply the good bacteria in your stomach, because the antibiotic has probably killed most of the good bacteria. So there are things that you can do with that. And again, kind of avoid sugar and flour if you can. And again, I was hoping to have Sharon here to talk about the sweating, where you detox in terms of all the sweating that you can do through a personal trainer or through a sauna or other things that will actually help you detox also. So I don't know what time we have here. I don't know where we stand. But so a couple things. Last time I asked if you have any questions about what we talked about today. I encourage you to call my number, which will be at the end of the program. Email me if you have any questions about anything, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. If you have any ideas of future programs, again, please email me or call me. I'm always looking for topics. Next week, I think we're going to try to have Susan Bergeron, a veterinarian, and doing alternative and traditional healthcare with dogs and animals. And we have about 2-3 weeks ahead of ourselves. So if next week, in terms of the animal part of it, or in 2 weeks if we do this, if you want to submit questions to me, to my email, which again will be on the end, please feel free to submit questions, and Susan, I'm sure, will be happy to answer most of your questions. So we'll be doing another one in 2 to 3 weeks, and like I said, this will be on NEK TV, and we'll post it on uBook and every place else. And the response we got for the first time was fantastic, and I'm very, very blessed to have people that support me and are willing to take this chance on me. So I threw a lot at you. There's a lot going on. We're probably going to have a seminar on detox probably coming up in about 3 weeks, and we're going to get into this a lot more detail. I kind of just gave you the highlights at this time, but if this is something that you want to do, we'll have a date and a time coming up in a couple of weeks, and we can send out the information for that. So anyways, thank you for joining us in episode 2 of Out of the Box on detoxification and elimination. And like I said, our next one will be probably more veterinarian. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office and email me. So hopefully you learned a lot. Hopefully I didn't scare you away with all the stuff that's going on. And if you have any questions, call me. And if not, then we'll see you in a couple weeks. And thank you for joining me today.